Backtesting didn't make me profitable. In fact, it distracted me for months. Clean equity curves, confidence. But when I went live, the edge just disappeared. I didn't know what I was doing. So I just backtested again and again. Better stats, better equity curve, but still no clarity. Just loss after loss after loss. You don't start by backtesting. You start by learning how to see. So, most of you are probably wondering at this point, what is it then? What do I need to do instead of backtesting? And that's exactly what I'm gonna tell you right now and demonstrate live on the PC, so you have some exercises to do after this video. And the first thing I would say is that most of you, maybe not all of you, go from the course into backtesting, but not realize that there's a process in the middle of that you still need to do. What is that process? Let me show you on the computer. So now we're at the PC. I'm gonna talk about observing the concepts. What is observing the concepts? Well, you basically pick apart the most important things about your strategy. So for my strategy, for example, it will be PDAs, but I made it easy and calling it fair value gaps and order block, power of 3 in liquidity, and order flow and market structure. So whatever those concepts are going to be for your strategy, that's what you're going to focus on. So this applies to anyone. If you are a supply and demand trader, you're going to mark up and observe supply and demand. Because the whole reason we're doing observing the concepts is that you gain an edge by first seeing the concepts play out, seeing it happen in different market environments, and then testing it out in backtesting. Because what most of you do, at least that's what I see, is you learn the concepts, you never observe them, so you have no clue how they actually look like on the charts, have a deep understanding at least how they operate in different market environments, and then you're basically blindly testing out a market concepts, blindly testing out those executions. And that's what I want to get rid of by observing the concepts. So I'm going to show you the daily chart and just show you in basic terms what observing the concepts is. We're not even going in replay mode. We're just going to annotate the mark on how they move. And what you want to do is you want to focus on section by section by section and then combine them all. So maybe, let's say for this observing the concepts, I only want to focus on power of 3 in liquidity. What will I then do? I will start marking out liquidity points, equal highs. For example, this liquidity point, this liquidity point, and just annotate how the market reacts when it reaches these highs and these kind of lows. Here, more highs. This is a high. Maybe I'm doing it a little bit more ugly at this point. But you can do it like this and just pick up the obvious ones. I think this is actually a way nicer way. So maybe you know, okay, we grab the liquidity. Then we're annotating that this is manipulation. Alright, so what happens? We grab the highs, manipulation above, and now what is market doing after? Going for the opposite low. When it reaches the opposite low, in this case it also goes for this big low. And that what happens when we reach that point in the market starts reversing again until we have these equal highs. Same kind of manipulation above these highs. And what do we reach down to? The opposite low. And this in very simple terms, only picking out the most obvious examples in this one. And then you mark out the manipulation zones. right? Manipulation, then here, very small manipulation below this lows. Where is it going? Goes towards this liquidity point. How does it look like again? Kind of this little square. I like the drawing. You're just gonna keep drawing these on until you get a better grasp about what it is that you're looking for. So maybe now you've, right, you highlighted this manipulation, going for the opposite lows. Then you're gonna zoom in maybe a little bit more. Maybe you wanna learn, okay, but how can I then start executing based on then? Then I'm gonna be like, okay, this is my market structure shift. So from there on out, after we grab this liquidity, now I know that we're gonna keep morphing bearish. So market structure shift, this is where your order flow comes in. And you're gonna observe order flow. You're gonna be like, okay, order flow. Here we move order flow bullish. Then what happens? We move bullish. You are kind of confused on what's happening here. So that's where your observing eye comes in. Because normally when you don't observe, you're gonna come towards this kind of price action in the real life market and just be confused as hell. Because you're gonna be chopped up. You're gonna be like, oh, order flow switch bullish again. But now, because you're observing, you're like, okay, we got the manipulation. We are now moving down after sweeping these equals. After all my observing things right here, we normally go for the opposite lows. Did we reach a low here yet? No, we did not. So you're expecting market to at least move towards here. Because that's what you're kind of observing. So if you're at least expecting a move towards here, then these order flow switches are just, what is there? They're a range. So that would be your accumulation. So we're accumulating all these orders right here to then what happens? We have a liquidity sweep. And then after that liquidity sweep, what happens? Then we get the market structure shift that brings us the nice clean trend towards the low. And this is how you learn. Oh, so how you learn like, oh, this is how my concepts are moving. So yes, I can go with market structure shift, but if we didn't hit something and we just keep popping up, popping lower, then I need to wait for that clear manipulation to bring us lower again, because that's where the clean trends and trades are gonna come from. For example, here as well, get a fake out, then market structure break, back bearish, so we're continuing towards this low, and that's when you start targeting this lows again. And this is on the daily time frame. Why I like the daily time frame? It's a higher time frame. So the higher the time frame, the more likely it is that order flow and all these things will be respected. So it's really easier to observe the concepts on the higher time frame because it's just moving more in a way that you want it to see. And then you can just pick price apart. Go inside a section that you don't understand and be like, okay, this looks so messy to me. What is happening here? So we reach this big low. Then we have a structure shift back bullish. So from this point I'm bullish. But then we have this big, well, I guess we're still respecting order flow. So from here, respecting order flow. I'm seeing some sweeps down here as well. Right, you're seeing the sweeps. You'll be like, okay, got this nice market structure order flow going like this. Okay, then I see the sweep, and then we're gonna go for this high after this sweep. And you're just gonna annotate and just observe really how price moves and observe how these concepts all come together. And that's what I did so many times. You can even make it as detailed as you want. I like to start on the daily and just start annotating where the daily is gonna move, how it's gonna move, because that's where you're gonna get your daily bias. But that's also how you derive all your concepts from. For example, only different really have to look and you'll be like, okay, we have this big swing high, then we have this manipulation, then we actually in this case sweep it again, so this will be a fake out. Then you know that kind of thing can happen. And then from this market structure shift, all these lows are gone. Because we reached this objective, sweep it again, strong market structure break, and now we're just heading for all these lows and just behaving how price acts when it's back. Where is it heading? And then the second level you can do, which I actually do, which I will show you right now. And this will be the second level. So now you're applying also, in this case, I applied news in it as well. I don't think that's very important for you guys to do in the beginning. just start annotating. But you can see it's the same kind of stuff, right? I'm just marking down my manipulations, right? Even this is a manipulation above this actually. Marking down my manipulation, marking down my sweeps, then marking down, okay, market structure breaks, you can mark down as well. And just applying this on, for me in this case, the H1 and seeing, okay, where are those clear days that I can enter? For example, here you can see that I marked down a daily market structure shift. So if I actually go down to this day, because what happens, market is not clear, right? Because we're in a bullish uptrend. From here, we shift back the daily bearish. So when I then dive into the H1, on that day that we shifted down bearish, I can derive from there. In this point, in this wick, right? Like, okay, in here, we tapped this beautiful 4-hour fair value gap. Then you're seeing London going down. So that's your first day to trade towards what? This clear low. Why is this a clear low? Because we grab the liquidity here. We have our manipulation. Then we have our daily order block shift. So now all these concepts are coming together. And that's where you frame your trade ID. That's the whole point, right? So it's like, okay, I got the basic concept down. And then a lot of people would just get chopped up in this kind of environment, not understanding when do I need to execute. Well, it's when you start knowing, like, okay, I got this concept of manipulation happening here. Got my market structure shift on the daily, which I know is important as I see from my observing the concepts. I as well know this bigger, higher time frame observant is also. So we have a bigger manipulation on the higher time frame. We have our first market structure shift, which is important. Then you just frame your intraday price action. Okay, got my same manipulation here, got the same market structure shifts right here. So now I'm gonna target this low, and that's where you then execute on the session. Instead of just being, for example, just being here, where price is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Because what happens, we have accumulation, we have opposite manipulation, and then you're going to be like, oh, but there's a liquidity sweep here, plus a structure break, so now we should go for this low. No. Why? Because if this is the opposite manipulation, we swap this, like from here, on the higher time frames, we don't really know where we're going. Because we're now just getting stuck, and then you think, oh, here's a price action, but actually it's just another accumulation range. And then when does the market finally moves? When we sweep all these highs out, then we get like a clear confirmation, and then we start targeting all these lows. And that's how you bring it all together. And that's why observing the concepts is so important, because you can derive all these clues, all these way that the markets move. You learn this all in hindsight, and then you already have a plan you can test out. Because if you kind of know, okay, this is what I want to see from the daily, this I want to see from my concepts, that's that extra plan that you write down in your edge, so that when you start backtesting, you're not just blindly executing on trades. Because that's what's basically is holding you back right now. At least that's what was holding me back. I was just blindly executing based on this plan that I had, but I didn't know how to visualize the plan. So first, go hindsight testing, go observe the concepts, write down what you learn in there, then start backtesting. And I promise you, it will help your trading a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope I made good sense. Sometimes I don't know. Because I know it was kind of a lot. It's hard to really note down how to observe everything correctly in a concise way. I hope I did that. If you have any questions more about observing the concepts, put it down below. I think one of the most important things is be playful with it. Just start annotating. Don't think like I'm showing up and you don't understand anything. Just really think like, okay, what did I learn in that YouTube video, in the course, and just start annotating without really notion. Just free flow it. And yeah. See you guys in the next video. Ciao.
Yeah. They hate when you elevate. They're stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate.